My family and I had an unforgettable 3 days in Yosemite National Park, and I'm here to show that you can too. As first-time visitors, we saw several of the iconic spots, gawked at the tallest waterfall in America, and experienced a side of Yosemite that many skip out on, but was totally worth it. While Yosemite is no doubt amazing, planning a trip here can be incredibly difficult. From the sheer amount of things to do, to having to deal with busy crowds and long lines, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. That's why I'm excited to share with you my exact 3-day itinerary that was not only epic, but actually doable. Whether you have 1 day, 2 days, or even a week in Yosemite, use this video to help you save time planning and spend more time enjoying your vacation. So sit back and relax. This is how my family spent 3 days in Yosemite National Park. Before I detail the day-by-day itinerary, I wanted to provide more context about our trip. Also, if you're interested, I created a written version of this exact itinerary. You can find it on Plannin.com. It also comes with this handy interactive map, link in the description below. I went with my family, consisting of my cousins, siblings, and everybody's partner, making us a group of 10. We went during one of the busiest times of the year, Memorial Day weekend. Why? We wanted to take advantage of the 3-day weekend and see the waterfalls at their peak flow, which typically happens in the late spring. Ultimately, it was worth it. And to be transparent, while I'm calling this a 3-day itinerary, the entire trip really took 5 days. 1 day to get there, 3 days to enjoy Yosemite, and 1 day to drive back. Now that you have some background on the logistics of our trip, let's dive right into the day-by-day itinerary. Day 0 was a pure travel day. We picked up our 15-seater passenger van, removed the back seats to make space for luggage, and began our trip. The journey from LA was a long 9-hour drive, including rest stops. A highlight was Highway 49, known as the Golden Chain Highway, named after mining communities during the California Gold Rush. The scenic drive was a pleasant surprise, and we happened to catch the sunset at just the right time. There are several areas you can stay to visit Yosemite. Our accommodation was in a town called Groveland. Despite it being a 90-minute drive from Yosemite, it treated us well and saved us a lot of money. If curious, I have a future video planned where I'll break down the entire cost of the trip. I'll link it in the description and corner above when it's ready. Day 1 was action-packed. We woke up early to get an early start, but more importantly, to beat the weekend crowds. I can't stress enough how important it is to arrive early at Yosemite. Nowadays, especially on the weekends or the busy holiday, some people can wait hours in line to just even enter the park. You also have to take into account the time it takes to find parking. So if you can, I would arrive very early, like before 9 in the morning. I wish this wasn't the case, but this is the unfortunate reality with over-tourism in parks. If you come during the weekday, then maybe it's not so bad. But to get that peace of mind and to not worry about will I have to wait in line or will I find parking, it's best to come early. The first activity of the day was to bike around Yosemite Valley. There are 12 miles of paved roads for bikes on easy, relatively flat terrain. You can bring your own bikes, but we rented ours at the Yosemite Valley Lodge. Biking is an excellent way to explore Yosemite Valley because you'll get to see views that are not possible by car. You also have the freedom to stop wherever and whenever you want. I'm going to briefly share 5 points of interest in chronological order. First was Swinging Bridge. It offers one of the best views of Yosemite Falls. Second was Housekeeping Beach. A bit hard to find and get to by bike, but once there, it was peaceful and serene. Third was Stoneman's Meadow. Fourth was Mirror Lake. You can park your bike at the designated drop-off point and then take a short walk to the trailhead. And fifth, as cliche as it may sound, I would say the journey itself. I hate myself for saying that, but the most fantastic views in my opinion were not in specific designated spots, but views that you just come across as you bike around Yosemite. In a future video, I'm going to create a complete guide about biking in Yosemite Valley because it truly deserves its own video. I will go over rental bike prices, route advice, more details about each location, and tips I simply wish I knew beforehand. I will link it in the corner above and the description below when it's ready. After a rest break at the Yosemite Lodge food court, we hiked to Yosemite Falls, the tallest waterfall in the entire continent of North America. You can witness the falls by hiking one of two trails, Upper Yosemite Falls or Lower Yosemite Falls. The hike to Upper Yosemite Falls is strenuous at 6.6 miles and 3,200 feet of elevation. The hike to Lower Yosemite Falls is easy at 1.2 miles and 55 feet of elevation. We did Lower Yosemite Falls because the views were spectacular with very minimal effort. Plus, we had more strenuous hikes to do later in the trip, including the popular Mist Trail, but more on that later. Here are some tips to hike Lower Yosemite Falls. I recommend going clockwise. That way, you can admire the falls as you approach the falls. If you go counterclockwise, your view of the falls will be sadly obstructed by trees. You can get up close to the lower falls by climbing over rocks, but do so at your own risk. If you go, be sure to wear proper footwear. The rocks can be slippery. And my last tip for you is to check out a viewpoint called Yosemite Falls View. We took some great group photos here, and the area was not crowded when we went, since you have to take a short detour to get there. I'll provide the exact location of this photo op in the description below. After the hike, we went back to our car, which was parked around the Yosemite Valley Lodge area, and I remember seeing people walk right into their cabins, and I felt pretty jealous because our stay was 90 minutes away and theirs is directly in the park. But it made me wonder if they got a good deal. Which brings me to the sponsor of today's video, Plannin.com. It's similar to booking sites you already know, like Booking.com or Expedia, but in my opinion, Plannin is the superior platform, and here's why. Plannin gives you immediate access to exclusive hotel rates with savings up to 40% off. Unlike these other sites where you have to book 10 or 15 nights just to unlock these deals, with Plannin, you get these deals right from day one. The coolest part of Plannin is that they've given travel creators, like myself, a platform where we can share our honest reviews and recommendations. So rather than trusting a random review from a random stranger, you can follow your favorite travel creators to see what hotels they've stayed at, read their reviews, and check out their travel itineraries, like the one I made for Yosemite, all to help you plan for your trip. So if you like to travel and like to save money, then sign up for free using my unique link below. Thank you Plannin.com for sponsoring today's video. We still had enough time to squeeze in one more thing, Glacier Point. It's an iconic viewpoint that overlooks Yosemite Valley. You can appreciate a clear view of Half Dome, a prominent rock formation standing at 8,800 feet. Here are some tips on visiting Glacier Point. You should keep in mind that Glacier Point is about a 2-hour round-trip drive from the valley floor. You should also consider combining your trip to Glacier Point with a hike to Taft Point and Sentinel Dome, a 5-mile loop trail that is highly rated on all trails. The trailhead is only a 10-minute drive from Glacier Point. We didn't do the hike because our energy levels were quite low at this point, but for you, it may be different. And my last tip is make sure Glacier Point is open. The road to get to Glacier Point Road, is closed during the winter and typically opens in the mid-spring. For example, it opened on May 14 of this year, 2024, and we visited on May 25th, just 11 days after it opened. I'll link a webpage that shows the historic opening dates of Glacier Point Road. That way you can better gauge if Glacier Point is something you can realistically include on your trip. During the drive back home, we got to take a quick glimpse of one of the most iconic viewpoints in Yosemite, Tunnel View. You can see El Capitan to the left, Half Dome in the distance, and Bridal Veil Falls on the right. Later, we got a better view of El Capitan from the base of the valley floor. Day 2 was certainly more of a chill day, well deserved after a jam-packed day 1. We slept in and took advantage of what was offered at our accommodation. The main attraction for today was Hetch Hetchy. Hetch Hetchy is a lesser known part of Yosemite, northwest from the valley, and in my opinion, severely underrated. We decided to go during the mid-afternoon to let the crowds die down. Groveland is actually relatively close to Hetch Hetchy, about an hour drive away. The lake you see here is actually a dam, holding 117 billion gallons of clean drinking water. The adventure of today was a hike to Wapama Falls. It was a 4.7 mile, 1,100 foot elevation gain hike. It offered incredible views and was certainly less crowded than Yosemite Valley, a welcome change. The best part of the trail was Wapama Falls itself. If you go during peak waterfall season, you get a neat opportunity to cross a section of the trail that goes right next to the waterfall, and you'll get misted if not completely soaked. Crossing the bridge felt like a video game, trying to avoid getting splashed by water every now and then. For some of my family, this was the highlight of the entire trip, and in my opinion, this hike was such a pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be that much fun. I will create a future video all about Wapama Falls and the Hetch Hetchy region, where I'll share my tips on how to visit. Out of everywhere we visited in Yosemite, getting information about this region was the hardest, so I have a lot to say about it. I'll link it in the corner above and a description when it's ready. Before we get to day 3, let's get to this video's travel trivia question. This is a new installment I'm doing, so I'm still trying to figure out the kinks. For context, Yosemite was designated a national park in the year 1890. The question is Yosemite the first, second, or third national park to be established in America? The answer in 3, 2, 1. Yosemite National Park was the third national park to be established in America. First was Yellowstone, second was Sequoia, and third was Yosemite. So if you got it right, comment the Earth emoji in the comments below, and I'll personally congratulate you with a personal message. Okay, let's get back to the 3-day itinerary. On day 3, we had one objective, and that was to hike the Mist Trail, the most popular trail in Yosemite. According to AllTrails, it's 6.4 miles with an elevation gain of 2,200 feet with a difficulty rating of hard. There are 2 main waterfalls, Vernal Falls and Nevada Falls. If you want, you can shorten the trip by just hiking to Vernal Falls, making it a total of 3 miles. But I recommend doing the entire thing, especially if you're going during peak waterfall season. The first point of interest is Illilouette Falls, seen from a distance. The second point of interest is the Vernal Falls footbridge. The third point of interest is Vernal Falls itself. Even though the trail is called the Mist Trail, we got completely drenched. It was awesome. The fourth point of interest is the Emerald Pool, a body of water between a natural water slide and the top of Vernal Falls. I want to warn you not to do this natural water slide because multiple people have been swept away to their death. The fifth and last point of interest is Nevada Falls. After several rocky switchbacks, nothing beats the feeling of making it to the very top. Overall, I personally thought the Mist Trail was the most epic part of the entire Yosemite trip, and I can confidently say it is worth the hype. As you might have assumed, I will be creating a complete guide on how to hike the Mist Trail, from where to park, when to go, my personal tips, and I'll explain how we somehow hiked 10 miles instead of the 6.4 miles all trails had listed. I'll link it in the corner and the description below when it's ready. After being wiped out from the hike, we ate an early dinner, went back to our stay, had a good night's sleep, and made it safely back home the next day. While I hoped you found my family's 3-day itinerary useful, I recognize that that's just the tip of the iceberg of what's offered in Yosemite. So if I did not mention your favorite place in Yosemite, please comment below where that is, tell us what it is, and why it's your favorite place. As you've heard, I have more videos planned on Yosemite, and I will house all of those videos in my Yosemite playlist here. As always, happy travel planning, and see you in the next adventure.